the two-handed bowling style, right? I mean, I think it's while it's arguably you're the best two-handed bowler in the world, and that's not a kind of a knock. I think you probably are one of the best bowlers of the world, certainly. But I just for the benefit of our viewers, to talk a little bit about the two-handed style and maybe just a short story about how you developed it and how you got to the level you're at right now.
Right. Well, the good thing about this story is I've told it a few times now that I've managed to put it into point forms, so it gets through a lot quicker.
Sure.
But basically, my parents built a bowling centre when I was born. Neither of them were bowlers. It was purely a business idea. And when I was 18 months old, I rolled my first ball, and I was much too little to lift the 10-pound bowling balls, which were the lightest that we had in 1985. So I used to push it with two hands. As I was getting a little bit older, I still wasn't strong enough to use one hand, and I would just carry the ball with two hands to the line. And eventually that was the premises to how the style started. I never changed. I never put just my right hand in the ball.
Yeah.
So I continued to do that. And when I was very young, in my 5s, 6s, and 7s, I noticed that I could really curve the ball more than anyone else in the town. And to me, that was really cool. So I wanted to continue to do that. And as far as my parents were concerned, I was bowling with a smile on my face. I was out of their hair while they worked hard, and they were happy just to see me happy. And I continued it on. And I'm a very stubborn guy, as it is normally. And when you hear people, which I've heard my entire career, say that I'm doing something wrong, or I should change, or that it's illegal, or whatever they throw at me, I'm really glad in this particular instance that my stubbornness and my ability to not listen to people paid off dividends.
Yeah. So let's dig into this, I guess, seemingly contentious topic for various reasons, right? I mean, there seems to be obviously mixed thoughts on the style, and some are fascinated because of what you can do with a ball, and others, will say, oh, it's not really bowling, whatever. I mean, ultimately, what do you think the two-handed style will do for the sport, if anything?
The one thing that I've noticed, and it's something that I am actually very proud of, and I think it's very humbling, is the fact that I get a lot of emails and messages from people who were not bowlers at all, who saw me bowl on ESPN and decided to try bowling and try it my way. And the emails would say that, thank you for making bowling cool, or thank you for giving me a way to curve the ball. And that's keeping these people in the game a little longer. And that's something that I am very happy and proud about, is that there are new bowlers who have never bowled a ball in their life, start a league, start bowling because of their, I guess, fascination with the two-handed style. And if we can generate new bowlers that way, it's not just two-handed bowlers that are going to be happy. It's going to be the sport of bowling that is going to benefit from these new bowlers. I usually, the critics and those that don't like it, as far as I'm concerned, you're more than welcome to have your opinion about anything. But the way that I look at it is I do everything legally. There is nothing that I do that anyone in the world can't do themselves if they wanted to try it.
Sure.
And if you don't like it, then I have no problems with you not wanting to do it. But if there's a kid in your league who seems to be having a good time bowling two-handed, there aren't as many people in the world who are resilient to taunts like I am. And the one thing that scares me is that people do get hassled a little bit in leagues for their style, for their two-handed style, and eventually that person may just stop bowling, and that doesn't benefit anyone. So Just let it be and enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, yeah, and from my perspective, I mean, it seems to certainly be sparking lots of new interest in the game, especially among the youth, and I can see that locally and elsewhere. So I'm all for it. I'm happy to see people get into bowling, and I think that's the key. Uh, so, and I guess thinking about it, um, it's interesting and kind of funny, right? I mean, on the one hand, people complain that a two-handed bowler has a kind of an unfair advantage related to the amount of revolutions, right? While I, on the other hand, also see almost an unfair advantage to something like what Norm Duke can do and how he plays to basically take the variable of lane condition out of play. You kind of look at it, I don't know if you follow baseball, but it's kind of like the Yankees' Mariano Rivera's cutter, right? It's a gift at the end of the day. So what advantages and disadvantages do you see in the two-handed game?
Well, the one thing about bowling that has really surprised me in my travels is that when someone is really good at doing something, everybody else out there wants to stop them from doing it, rather than improve their own games to match what that person is doing. Yeah. We as an industry find a way to slow the front runners down, rather than push the ones behind to catch up. And whether it be left-handed bowlers who are doing well, we need to change the pattern so they stop doing well. Whether it's straight guys doing well, we need to put more oil in the lane so they struggle. If it's the hook guys, if it's the two-handed guys, it's unfair that they can create that many rotations because I can't do it, so that's unfair. Well, in every sport, the leaders of that sport are doing something that gives them an unfair advantage to everyone else because they have that ability.
Sure.
And like I said, what I don't do anything that no one else in the world can't do if they want to try and do it.
Sure.
Now, if I had a little mechanical gadget on my arm that allowed me to generate what I do, then fair enough. You're more than welcome to throw me into the fire and call me a witch. But when I'm doing nothing wrong except using what God gave me to throw a ball down the lane, as far as I'm concerned, it's not an unfair advantage. It's an advantage that I have created because of, one, the hard work that I've put into my game, and two, I think it comes down to like a natural ability to do something that a lot of other people can't do. But like you said, I don't complain when Norm Duke bowls up two board and strikes all day long when I physically can't do that. I don't cry and say that he has an unfair advantage. I say he has an advantage because he's more talented than I am at doing that.
Yep.
And I wish that's how everybody in the world looked at it. But, I've heard plenty of guys on tour complain about this unfair advantage. And my response to them is then do something about it yourself. Work harder on your own game. If you have weaknesses that you're not happy with, fix them, because that's what I'm doing. I don't like to play close to the gutter in my career, and over time I've practiced so hard at playing up the gutter that now I feel very comfortable doing it. But it seems like when the shoe's on the other foot, it's quite easy just to throw stones and complain rather than actually go to a bowling centre and learn to do something different.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe one disadvantage I think, or maybe an additional difficulty to using two-handed bowling would be playing up the lane, for example, right, as compared to Norm Duke.
Right, and the other thing that a lot of people forget is the fact that when we do make an error on a condition that is very testing, if we miss a little left, Norm Duke might look for 4-pin. When a two-handed bowler with a rotation of 600 RPMs misses left by a couple of boards, he gets 5 through the face. Every error that we make is exaggerated on a very testing condition. Now, when the lanes open up, that's where the advantage that we have comes into play, because we can miss a little left and right and and create a lot more angle into the pocket. But when the lane conditions are very, very tough, like they were at the US Open, if we missed a little more, if Norm and I missed the exact same amount, the difference between his reaction and my reaction is going to cause for a lot more pins standing on my set of lanes than it is for him. So whilst we do have the advantage of opening up the lane, when we need to close it down, our errors are exaggerated.
Yeah, and I think watching the bowl at the U.S. Open should show everybody certainly how versatile you are. I don't think it really has anything to do with the two-handed style, but being able to do what you did at the U.S. Open, I think was also fantastic. Gonna kind of stick with the two-handed thing for a little bit, and I've had my own physical issues with a serious bicep injury. I happen to be a lefty, one-handed bowler. I'm curious about the mechanics of the two-handed style, and are there any particular physical ailments or risks associated with it that can affect a bowler's longevity?
All right, hold on. You're a lefty?
I am a lefty.
This interview is over.
Okay. I should have saved that for the end.
You should have kept your mouth shut.
Yeah, sorry.
This is another thing that I just love about the critics and with two-handed bowlers is, I cannot tell you how many people out there say, oh, these guys won't be bowling when they're 30 and, they're going to be in a wheelchair by the time they're 50 because of all these problems that they're going to have. And I can tell you that I wake up in the morning, I roll out of bed, there isn't a single ache in my body doing what I do.
Sure.
But I won't say that, the two-handed style won't cause injury because I believe every style in the world will cause some form of injury over a period of time. And believe me that there are a lot more one-handed bowlers as a percentage who are injured than there are two-handed bowlers that are injured. So to me, when someone says, oh, your back might give way, I'm like, you're right. My back might give way one day. I have to take care of myself. I have to work out, and I have to make sure that I strengthen areas of my body that need strengthening. But at the same time, I'm like, you go and talk to some of the all-time greatest one-handed bowlers, and you tell me how their bodies are feeling. And people forget that just because we look a little different, it doesn't mean that we're completely different to everyone else.
Sure.
Everyone else still suffers from the same things that we will eventually suffer from. But for whatever reason, it seems like people are more frightened to bowl two-handed because there's this stigma that we're going to break down earlier than everyone else. And so far, all the two-handed bowlers that I know from growing up are still two-handed bowlers today. So we'll see where we are, though, when we're 40. And I'll be the first guy to tell you when I'm rolling around in my wheelchair, when I'm 50, don't do this, kids, because this is what happens to you. But I don't ever see that happening. Touch wood.
Yeah, good. I'm living proof of the the one-handed injury, and you may have to give me some tips. But ultimately, I guess maybe I kind of changed the angle of the question a little bit. So whether you're one-handed or two-handed, the different styles may there may be certain injuries. You may be more kind of apt to get a certain injury with one style or another. I don't know what it is. I'm just wondering if you have anything that you can tell, let's say a two-handed bowler, if there's something you did wrong, what type of injury is possible. So generically speaking, have you seen any people doing the wrong thing as they're starting to learn two-handed bowling, and what particular risk they may have? If any, right?
Look, that's a really good question. And I think from the testing that's been done, I think a lot of the problem area, or I guess I wouldn't say problem area, I think it's more, what's the word I'm looking for? Cautious area of the body when bowling two-handed is going to be your lower back, because we do have a considerable amount of spine tilt at the foul line. I think a lot of people are worried that motion there is going to be a big issue. Like I said, I've been doing it my whole life. I don't have a single pain at all anywhere in my back. If anything, my fingers hurt because I sometimes, throw the ball with a little too many revs at times. But apart from that, I finish a 40-game tournament like the US Open, and I'm ready to bowl another 40 more. And I'm watching my one-hand compatriots, and their hands are incredibly sore, their shoulders are sore, their knees are sore, and I don't see that. But I think that the one area that people are cautious of are the lower backs, and my advice is do what I did. Look after yourself. You stretch that part of your body, strengthen that part of your body. And it's not just for two-handed bowlers, it's really for all bowlers. Strengthen the weaker parts of your physical body to give you the best chance to have a long career. And don't be that guy that, throws the first ball in practice 100 miles an hour and then finishes the last ball of practice, packs his shoes up, and then goes straight to the bar. If you want a career, look after yourself and stretch before and warm down and look after yourself, then go grab a beer after that.
All right, great. I think that'll help some of the two-handed bowlers kind of, see, and as they develop their games, clearly more bowlers will be doing so, things to look out for. I have my own list of things for them to look out for as it relates to poor form, but we'll talk about that another time. So you're obviously a Storm staff member, and maybe you can just pick a couple balls that happen to be your favorites right now and why as it relates to ball reaction.
Actually, it's funny you mention that because up until 2 nights ago, I would have told you the Marvel Pearl, which I still believe is one of my favorite balls right now. Would have been at the top of that list. But I threw a ball a couple of nights ago in league, and it was the Manic. And it's a brand new ball, and I can't believe how good this ball was for me. It has a very different shape than what I'm used to seeing with Storm. Normally, Storm is a ball that likes to get into a roll further down the lane. For me, the Manic liked to get into a roller just a pinch earlier, and it really smoothened out my reaction. So anybody that has a high rotation that wants to kind of, use a ball for the fresh or for a lot of oil, for me, this was a phenomenal ball. And then you could, for those that don't have the rotation that I do, because it's such a heavy earlier rolling ball, it'll really let you play on top of the track and kind of guide the ball to the pocket, and its hitting power is phenomenal. And what I'll do is on my Facebook, and for those that are interested and want to look me up, they can definitely look me up on Facebook and Twitter. But I will upload a particular shot that I threw with the Manic. It was for 300, and then I managed to get the front 10 after that 300. And I just couldn't believe that the ball hit so hard when all I was really doing was just softly rolling it down the lane and letting the ball do all the work. When normally I'm the one throwing it pretty quick down the lane, trying to make a curve. This thing just did it all for me. So I'm going to say the top 2 balls on my list right now are the Marvel Pearl and the new Manic.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, and I think for the TamerBowling.com viewers and visitors, we have reviewed the Storm Manic recently, and it'd be great if you can, also show your video so people can kind of see your reaction as well. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll post it on my Facebook up probably tonight. It'll remind me to do it later.
All right, great.
Thank you for watching Tamer Bowling Video Ball Reviews.